Before we get started this morning, I wanted to let you know that I appreciate that you're taking time away from your regular work to come and listen to my presentation. I know that it's a distraction and it's taking away from what you normally do, and I'm thankful that you're doing this today. So let's get started. Several years ago, there was a study done, and they found in the study that there were 4 different kinds of relationships that we have with other people in all walks of our life. But 3 of these relationships actually apply to the work environment. They are strangers. Now, this kind of relationship is a relationship that you might find in large corporations or people who travel a lot. They don't actually get to know the people that they work with very well, and it's a relatively common thing that exists out in the work world. On the other end of that spectrum, though, would be a family kind of work environment. Now, some companies actually work towards having a family environment at the job, and that's something that they put effort and time into, encouraging those kinds of relationships at the workplace. The third one is the kind of relationship that you have with your neighbors. This kind of environment at work would be something like friendships, but not as close as a family. So, what is a stranger relationship like? Well, this is something that you might find regular places where you find strangers. In a stranger relationship, we have no connection. There's no bond that we share. It's just somebody that we see. And if we need something from someone who is in that stranger kind of relationship, then we're going to have to pay for it. So if I needed someone who happens to be a stranger to mow my grass or to fix my roof, I'm going to have to pay them. It's not something that they will do on their own, and that's the kind of working relationship you have with a stranger. The next one is the family. This is completely different. So in a family, in my own family, I have a really close bond with people. I'm connected to these people. I know what they think, I know how they feel, I know what happened last night, and it's a constant update of information with the people in my family. And that's a really important part of my family. We also, in my family, do whatever we can to help other people in our family. We don't actually expect anything to get that, and that's one of the things that comes in a family relationship, is that there is no expectation that somebody's going to return something. So if I have a family member who's in need of, say, help babysitting their kids, I'm going to do that, but I'm not going to expect that they're going to have to return in like kind whatever I've done for them. That's the kind of a family relationship that we have and that some companies actually want to encourage in their company. So, what are my neighbors like? Well, in my neighborhood, I have really good semi-close relationships with my neighbors. If I needed something, I could ask my neighbors to help me. If I asked them to help, though, I would also feel like I would be indebted to them. And they would probably expect that I would return the favor of whatever they have done for me. So, of the 3 different relationships I've just talked about, we need to kind of figure out which one would be the best. And in these, we're going to start with strangers first, but strangers probably are not the best kind of working relationship that we want in a company. So we're going to X out strangers. We're not going to consider strangers as a good working environment. Now we have 2 left, family and neighbors. Those are both seem to be really good options for having a working environment. But in the family environment, in the family relationship environment that some companies actually want to encourage, there is an opportunity for people to not pull their weight. In our family, there are times when certain members can't do even the most basic things. and we don't expect them to return whatever things that have been done for them. And so in a working environment, this doesn't actually work really well. We do better in a neighbor kind of working place environment. So I have a perfect clip. Oh, sound.
Neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Would you be mine? It's a neighborly day and it's beautiful. A neighborly day for beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Would you be mine? Be my neighbor? Won't you please? Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? Here we are, neighbors again. I'm glad to be with you.
So I love Mr. Rogers, and it might be a little cheesy, but he has a good point to make in that being neighbors is a really good kind of relationship to have. And when we talk about neighborhoods and what we do for each other, neighbors are super important. So, what do neighbors do for each other? Well, when we see each other out, when we're out and around, we say hello. We chat with them, we visit with them. We also wave as we drive by their house and see them outside working in their yard. And if I'm on vacation and I need someone to take care of my pets, I can call my neighbors. I also call them to pick up my paper and to pick up my mail. And so when do neighbors help each other? Well, actually pretty regularly. To have a good relationship with your neighbor, you need to actually come in contact with them and help them on a regular basis. Kind of check in and know what's going on. Sometimes you see something happening and you know that they need some help. And so that's a good time to help them, is when they're in trouble. Why do we help our neighbors? Well, we help our neighbors because we have common goals. We live in the same neighborhood. We want the same kinds of environment in our neighborhood. We want to live in a place where we feel safe and where we have friends. And because of our common goals, that's why we help each other and that's why we work together. So how do I know if my neighbor needs something? Well, one of the first things you need to do is you kind of need to keep track of them. You kind of need to look for the clues that might show that there's something going on that they need some help. So if the trash isn't being picked up, or if the mail is piling up, or the papers are in the driveway, maybe that's when I will check on my neighbor. And that's how I get to the point where I know that my neighbor needs some help. But these ideas and things are for neighbors that are in my neighborhood. How does it work in the office environment? Well, we're going to talk about that. So in a neighborhood, I will help my neighbor in these ways and they will help me. But in an office environment, how does that work? Well, with coworkers, we still chat with each other when we see each other at work. We still will wave hello when we're walking into the building at work. And we help each other at work. Maybe there's a big project that's going on and somebody needs a little bit of help. So that's what we kind of do with our coworkers. When do we help our neighbors? Well, when we see that they're in trouble. With coworkers, it's kind of the same kind of thing. All of a sudden, when do I see that I need to help my coworker? Well, when there's something going on, and I can see that that's going on. Plus, I think that we need to do this on a regular basis so that we keep in contact and we know what's going on with them. Why? So in a neighborhood, we have common goals. In an office, it's the same kind of thing. We have common goals. We want the company to succeed. We want them to do well. We need to encourage and do our best together, and we work together to do that. in a neighborhood, how do I know when my neighbor needs help, or how do neighbors know? Well, they look for the clues. In the work environment, it's the same kind of thing. You look for the clues. What's going on? Does somebody having a hard time? Can you see that there's work piling up on their desk? Or what can you see that excuse me, that's going on?
There are many helpful people in this world, aren't there? The more you grow into a helpful person yourself, the happier you'll find this world of ours is.
So the idea is that we're helpful. Mr. Rogers is smart. He figured it out. The best way to live in this world is to help each other, to be neighbors. So my challenge for you is to get to the point where you look at the people in your office today, this week, as your neighbors. Think about them as your neighbors. Think about what you might be able to do to help them, what you might need to do to notice what's going on. I challenge you to be a good neighbor at work. Thank you for coming today. I appreciate your time again.